Hello and welcome to the Scenic Route with me, Victoria Stewart, where we talk about the road less traveled, our adventures in life that have taken us off what we imagined as our path through life, through our careers. And usually they take us on adventures that take, whether it's the journey or the destination or both, are better than we could ever have imagined when we were starting out. So today I'm very excited to have another evidence of magic friend. We had three right at the start, episodes, I think it was like 2 through 5. And now Giuseppina Derudas is here to talk
Hello.
about her adventures. She is a systems engineering and project management consultant and is working on building a supplement company. So very exciting stuff. Thank you, Giuseppina, for being here.
Hello, Victoria. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. Very honored. Um, yeah.
And would you like to add anything to your introduction so people understand a little better?
Sure. So I come from the beautiful island of Sardinia in Italy. I was born and raised there. I moved to the UK to study at university when I was 19, and then I have been living in the UK ever since. Um, Finished my aerospace engineering degree, project management masters, and then started working right away. And then the past 10 years, I've actually been back and forth between Belgium and the UK. So a lot of traveling. But yeah, here we are.
Here we are. So when you were a kid in Sardinia, or maybe even in college, like at university, where did you imagine your life going? Are you doing what you thought you were going to be doing?
That's an interesting question. Well, growing up in Sardinia, Sardinia is beautiful and and the quality of life is amazing. You know, I grew up close to the sea, and our school system is quite tough, and I used to love all kinds of subjects. I used to love literature, and we did Latin and ancient Greek in school, and I used to love those too, and I used to love maths and physics, and at one point I decided I wanted to be an astronaut or an archaeologist, and so it was like completely polar opposites. And I just felt like a fish outside of water in Sardinia. I wanted to go out. I wanted to leave. I wanted to just explore the world, meet different people, different
Mhm.
cultures. I really had that thirst. I didn't want to say I felt stuck in Sardinia, if you could call it that. And so when I remember my dad used to work abroad, and so he was working in the UK, and I was already in, let's say, the equivalent of your high school, I would say, at that time, and I just really wanted to go live with him. And I remember my mom telling me, no, you're gonna finish school, your high school, the Lyceum, we call it, in Italy. And then you can go wherever you want to university. And so that's exactly what I did. I applied, and then I got accepted into London University, and so I moved. And by that time, my dad had moved already, so I didn't actually get to live with him. But I got to come to London, and which was amazing for me. I mean, London was my favorite city in the world. I mean, still is definitely one of my favorite places. Um, and so it's just been an amazing adventure, like a lot of growth. It was tough at the beginning, coming from little Sardinia to London, and having to, I mean, my English was good because I had to have the tests for university, but it still wasn't as good as speaking fluently and learning aerospace engineering subjects in the language. And I remember I used to fall asleep in my first year in lectures because I was so tired, and I
Yeah.
was exhausted all the time from the language and the different accents, and so it was tough, but also I had so much fun, and I made really good friends, and I really enjoyed the university life. And And so I don't know if now I I don't know, I can't remember what I used to picture fully.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember that I had my dad as a sort of guiding light for where I would be, and he was working as an engineering director, like going around. And I guess yes, I'm there
Yeah.
now, like working in engineering and moving around a lot. And yeah, I didn't get to do archaeology with my Egyptology specialization, but I it still worked out, in the best way possible. And I guess I don't know at which point I realized, oh, that's actually not what I want to do. I want to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a learning process.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so the title of the podcast is The Scenic Route. And so is there a moment in your life, in as you're working through doing the systems engineering, doing the project management, traveling for your job back and forth from London and Belgium, doing also Sardinia to visit family, is there anything that happened, or an event, or maybe just gradually, that you're like, there's something here that I would like to change, that felt like a turning point?
I would say two things, two major things. One thing was, so the very first company I worked for after finishing my master's was Lockheed Martin. And so I got into their graduate program. So I went into that program, and it was great for me. I was so excited. Um, and then after finishing the graduate program, I got selected for what they call the ELDP, Engineering Leadership Development Program. And it's a really prestigious program in Lockheed. And so they select only a handful of people globally. And so I was so excited. And I could really see myself growing into the company and going up the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then there was one major thing that happened. So the business unit I belonged to was part of a spin-off. So it was being
Oh.
spun off, and then it got merged into another aerospace company called Leidos. It's another American company.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was called a merger, but it felt more like an acquisition. And
Okay.
so the name stayed Leidos, and so it felt like we were being acquired. So all the projects that they put a moving freeze, so we couldn't move business unit in that space of time. And so everything, like, because the people were the major asset of that
Right.
business unit, and so everything was being merged with Leidos. And I was so disappointed with that. It just kind of like it just felt like my world was just like crumbling. All the
Mm.
hopes and expectations that I had of growing into Lockheed. And then there were promises that were made, like, oh, okay, we're gonna reestablish this engineering leadership program into
Yeah.
Leidos, and you can keep going, and you'll still be able to travel around and gain all this good experience. And at that point, I think I was then considering a project in Australia or a project
Okay.
in Belgium. And then I ended up selecting the project in Belgium because it was for a really, really big customer. And so I did that, and it was a Lockheed program.
Yep.
Um, and so I went there, and I was doing all of that, and then I quickly realized that Leidos was not going to be the same thing. Things were really
Mm.
changing. I didn't like this transition phase. A lot of good people, good engineers, good managers that I knew at Lockheed were just quickly leaving. And so I actually stayed for about 2 years. And then I tried. I After completing that project in Belgium, I went back to UK, worked on a couple of bids, but it just wasn't the same. And so I decided to leave. And so that was the big thing that I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave and try going into proper consulting.
Okay.
And I tried consulting and I lasted 2 months, like for a consulting firm. I lasted two
Okay.
months because it was horrifying. Honestly, I mean, they work you like a donkey. You don't get overtime. And I was like, I was really horrified. I worked on an interesting project, uh, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving. But in that time, I had an offer to work for the original customer of my Belgian project because they
Yeah.
got to know me in that time, and so they offered
Mm-hmm.
me a position. And so I was like, okay, I'm coming to Belgium. And so I've been working for them as a contractor ever since, and that freedom has been amazing. And but then the second thing that happened when I turned 30, I had a whole identity crisis. I just didn't know who I was anymore, what I wanted to do. It just felt like I went into engineering because not just because I had a passion and wanted to be an astronaut, because I quickly realized I would not be able to be an astronaut. And while I was studying aerospace engineering, I developed a fear of flying, which
Dear. I guess you've
no,
gotten
I had to
over.
overcome that
Oh
because
my gosh.
obviously you just have to overcome it.
Yeah.
And but because I specialized in structural failures, and so I think I just went a little bit too hard in those like crash course investigation series. So
Never getting on a plane again.
it was close. And so yeah, I just didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. And so I just been like, okay, like I have to pause. I have to pause and figure out what I want to do. And it felt like I wasn't helping anyone. And one of the reasons why I wanted to be in engineering
Yeah.
was to feel like I was helping people something. Um, and I just wasn't feeling like that at all. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I got a little bit disillusioned within the environment I was in, especially seeing the behavior of some people, of some sectors. There are very good people with very good intentions in a lot of these environments, but the struggle is hard, right? It's they have to fight so much, what's the word? So many heavy processes and
Yeah.
cumbersome bureaucracy
Yep.
to get anything done sometimes. And yeah, so I started just taking a step back and thinking. And at the time, I was also in an almost 8-year relationship, and I realized that wasn't meant to be either, and it was very tough. We loved each other very much, but we were meant to be together, and so that ended at the same time. And so I went into a whole spiral also of guilt,
Yeah.
because I felt like I was the reason for that relationship ending. And so I went into a bit of depression actually for a few months, and trying to figure out who I was, who I wanted to be. And actually, meditation is the thing that helped me the most of anything else. I hadn't discovered Emily Fletcher yet, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just standard mindfulness meditation that really, really helped. Yeah.
That's amazing. And how did this kind of perspective shift, whether it's because for me, I also at 30 had I think it was 30, not 35. I don't know. It was like I didn't expect it to hit me when I was at having that birthday. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like I had like a total, where am I going? Why am I still here? Like, why hasn't like my life looked different? And then I forgot about it. But so you saying that, I'm like, yes, I remember that. Like how maybe it's a third of a year or a quarter of a life. Like, let's take a look around and see. But how did like that start shifting things for you? Like once you worked through your relationship dissolving, you're finding meditation to work through the depression, having that realization with your whether it's just the sector, the work you were doing, the industry, what began to change, or what did you begin to change?
So it was very gradual. I actually started just exploring ideas, like business ideas, like little things for um like, oh, like, do I want to make soaps, or like
Mm-hmm.
things like that, like silly little things that I thought, oh, this seems interesting, or I could do this, or and there were a number of things. At one point I thought, oh, do I want to try and put like educational videos online or
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and I quickly realized, no, I'm not ready to do that. I'm not ready to be so seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then meditation was a big shift, like mindfulness meditation, and so I did take a course in it, and it was, I can't remember now. No, I do remember. It was the Sam Harris mindfulness meditation course, and so I just continued practicing that, and then slowly, obviously I was still working in all of this, even though I was struggling. But I just realized, okay, what do I want to do? And then I realized, okay, I am moving out of my apartment. I need to find a place, because I was staying a lot of time in Belgium while
Mm-hmm.
my old partner and I, we were living together. And so I realized, okay, I need to find a new living situation. And I decided, oh, can I dream of buying something? Do I even And so I got this idea in my head that I wanted to buy an apartment instead of
Mm-hmm.
renting somewhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started looking into that. And somehow I saw this apartment that I have now in London, and I fell
Mm-hmm.
in love with it. And I literally only saw a couple of places because I got obsessed with this
Mm-hmm.
place. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, can I even do it? And somehow, and I think this is one of my main manifestation stories, because I was alone. I didn't think I could like get accepted for that mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
and but then somehow everything worked out in my favor. And I mean, there were some further tests. For example, I had to wait from the moment that my mortgage was accepted. I had to wait for another almost a whole year before I could get into the apartment, because they found there was a big fire in London, caused a lot
Oh.
of deaths at the time, and Grenfell Towers. It was all over the news, and then that made the security fire policies everywhere for new builds be
Mm.
reviewed. And so this building was one of those buildings. And so before, so the contractor had accepted to like do the works and everything. And so I said, no, but I want to stick with it. I don't want to get out of it. I'm still obsessed with the place. And so like almost a year passed before I could like
Wow.
actually get into the apartment, but it was my little apartment, and
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanted to. And so that was also a part of it, and like that sort of like finding myself in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, because of what the feelings I was experiencing, I started doing a lot of reading on mental health and brain health, and like overall body health. And I realized that while I was feeling those really sad depressing feelings, my vitamin D levels were so low, they were almost non-existent. And
Wow.
so I got on vitamin D, and so a number of things. And so I realized, oh my goodness, I'm really interested in health and wellness, and I'm not sure that I want to go into medicine, but I realized that my main interest was within brain and mental health.
Mhm.
And so I started exploring postgraduate courses in neuroscience. And so I think it was another maybe 2 years from that point until I enrolled into a postgraduate course in applied neuroscience at King's
Mhm.
College London. And so I was fully back at university, well, part-time. I was still
Yeah.
working and traveling back and forth. But I realized, oh my goodness, this is like, I love this. Like, I love this with every fiber of my being. Like, I'm really passionate about the topic. I could read for hours and I'm not going to get bored. I
Uh-huh.
actually remember things that I read once because I'm so interested in it, and
Wow.
I just want to know more and more and more. And so um yeah, so that's how I ended up studying neuroscience.
Yeah. And how did that like interest in the neuroscience get you to a supplement company? How did that
Well,
happen?
so one of my interests is like botanicals and herbs
Mm.
and mixing things. I don't even know how that came about, to be honest. It's just one of those things that I love learning how you can mix all these herbs and like get a result like natural things and have better sleep or like soothe a tummy ache or things like that. And then in the path of my course in neuroscience, I took an advanced module in psychopharmacology,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I realized, okay, that is, I love this. I just love it.
Uh-huh.
And so that is the sort of specialization, that and neuroimaging. Those two were my absolute favorite modules of the
Mhm.
course. And then I remember there was some unfortunately during everyone has their stories during COVID, and
Oh, yeah.
families, and during COVID, I mean, the suicide rates just went up so much. And unfortunately, and I was just beginning to study neuroscience at the time, my godfather, my mom's younger brother, committed suicide. And so that was pretty tragic, and he had suffered with depression for many years, and then he had been put on antidepressants for a long time, and so that was really tough and sudden, and I felt at the time, man, I could have helped him. Like, I wish I could have helped him. And and I just, you feel so helpless in situations like that. And my
Right.
mom took it really hard, really hard. And and well, the idea for the company actually didn't wasn't born as a supplement company.
Okay.
So that is just the foundation of Amrita Health. The ultimate goal will be for me to open clinics, mental health
Okay.
and brain health clinics. And I remember when that happened, I had made a promise to my mom, and I said, well, I'm gonna open my own clinic at some point. I'm gonna be helping a lot of people, and the first clinic is gonna be named after my uncle, my uncle Walter. And so I made that promise to my mom, and then I just kept studying, and this idea was just floating in my head with like just like a little pin for the future. And I was doing a lot of reading, with my mom couldn't sleep. My mom was having so much trouble
Yeah.
sleeping, and of course there's a combination of things, the trauma. She was maybe getting into menopause at the time.
Mhm.
My mom got into menopause quite late. She was almost 60. And so a lot of concurrent things, but I
Right.
think the mental aspect was the major
Huge.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so nothing was working, and she was taking Xanax. And at the time, I was learning about the side effects and potential risks of benzodiazepines. Also, my grandma was well. This was before my uncle's passing, but she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And so there are correlations or elevated risks for Alzheimer's disease when you take benzodiazepines. And so I was like, Mom, I really don't want you to take Xanax. And she's like, but I cannot do anything else. I can't sleep. And so I started doing a lot of research. And then I learned about GABA, which is a compound which acts on GABA is the most important calming neurotransmitter in our brain. And benzodiazepines and GABA, they work on the same and the natural GABA, the supplemental GABA, they work on the same receptors. But the difference is that GABA doesn't have the same side effects of the benzo drugs. And so I was like, I was wondering. And at the time I couldn't find any in Europe. And so I ordered a bunch of things from the US, and I got them delivered to Italy. And I said, Mom, can you please just try this? And it was like a combination. It was GABA, and she likes taking melatonin. So like GABA, melatonin, and some natural herbs. And I said, but can you just please, like, trust me, like, please, like, just take it for a few days.
See what happens.
And see what happens. And then so she said, okay, fine, I will try it. And then after a few days, she started telling me that it was the first time in years that she had dreamt, that she had been having dreams. And she was sleeping again, and it was helping. And it was actually not just helping her sleep, it was helping her nervous system as well. And these natural things take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I mean, when she told me that, I was like, oh my goodness, that's interesting. And I mean, I was really happy for her because she hasn't taken benzodiazepines since, which for me was a huge win. And then with that, I was still searching in Europe. Like, there was nothing of the sort available in Europe. And still, GABA as a supplement in the UK is banned. Like, you can't sell. You can order from the US, but you can't actually sell GABA in the UK as a supplement. There's just an old ban. It's obsolete. It's allowed in the EU, but not in UK. They just never removed the ban.
Okay.
I mean, I have my theories about it, but yeah. And so I thought, wow, there's a big gap in Europe. Why don't I think about a product like that? And that's how the idea of launching my own formulation for a sleep supplement came about.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And it's so interesting that you sent your mom like a bunch of things to try to put together.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, wow. It's the combination that's working really well. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
and
cool.
My mom still won't go a day without GABA because it helps her sleep, but it helps her.
Like overall, the nervous system is.
Yeah, when your nervous system, when your mind is overthinking, like you just can't switch off. That's what GABA helps.
How interesting.
Yeah, and so she still takes it, and so I'm excited for her to have an endless supply of sleep magic.
So with your experience with your mom, that's how you decided to start, like, okay, there's a gap in the market here. because I know that there's a lot more in sleep magic just because we've talked about it, but how did you move from let's combine all these different supplements that I bought and sent to my mom to coming up with your own formulation?
Well, I just started looking into different ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
and so I started reading all the scientific papers that I could get my hands on, and
Uh-huh.
on different ingredients or herbs, and
Mm-hmm.
so the formulation has a really good dose of GABA. But I didn't want to have any melatonin in it.
Yep.
But I still wanted to have um, a natural compound that has natural melatonin in it. And so I put tart cherry extract
Mm-hmm.
in it because it's very high. Tart cherries are very high in melatonin content naturally.
Really?
Yeah.
Learn something new
So
every day.
yeah. And so I just read all the papers plus all the other good, really good anthocyanin benefits of like
Yep.
antioxidant benefits of tart cherry extracts in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some ancient herbs, valerian extract, and then I
Mm-hmm.
have I love passion flower.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's another, and the formula that I have today actually went through iterations. And so it
Mm-hmm.
started as something, and then I played around with the ingredients, with the dosages, and I actually the first time I made it at home. So I
Mm-hmm.
just got all the ingredients, and then I learned how to mix things properly based
Yep.
on weight, and then I got like a little encapsulation machine, and so I made it at home. I tested it on myself first. I tested it on a few people, my mom, uh, my boyfriend,
Uh-huh.
and so I improved the formula from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a whole thing because I think, I don't know if you remember, I was trying to launch in Europe
Mm-hmm.
because of the gap in Europe. And
Yep.
since then, there's been, I know there are products that have popped up in Europe, but I still don't think there is anything to that level.
Mm-hmm.
And, but there was just so much red tape. The fact that I couldn't sell it in the UK, I couldn't sell it in Ireland because they follow the same banners the UK, and then different European countries have different rules, and so I there was a point that I got stuck. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I spoke to different manufacturers in Europe. I actually had found a really good manufacturer in Ireland that was ready
Yep.
to manufacture it, even though I wouldn't be able to sell it in Ireland.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, and they were really nice, but I felt stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I think it was in end of January last year
Yeah.
that we came to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And so my boyfriend Jarvis, he had a crypto conference, and I just went along because why not?
Why not?
And
January in Miami sounds lovely.
yeah, and it was then that I something clicked, and I decided I'm just gonna launch in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were still there, I started doing all the research. How would I even do that? Can I form a company in the US, like as a non-resident? Can I do this? Like, what are the steps? Like, what are all the
Mm-hmm.
administrative, legal, and all the things? And oh man, I have to start talking to manufacturers from scratch. And but from there, from the point I made that decision, everything started like
Yeah. Falling into place.
flowing and falling into place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Um, and I think it's like, it sounds like such an involved process, right? Like a lot of iteration, testing, even with the supplement, but then also in the process of like trying to get this product made and so that you can sell it and everything else. How have you managed that with your full-time job?
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, and I've wanted to quit so many times. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, throughout this process, and since we met during
Mm-hmm.
Evidence of Magic, I already wanted to quit. And every time I was like, okay, end of this year, I'm going to quit. End of this year, I'm going to quit. But then there was, and I don't remember exactly at which point I realized it's okay. It's okay for me to keep working and doing
Mm-hmm.
this in my, I wouldn't call it even spare time, but in
Right.
my second part of the day or first part of the day. And sometimes it's okay for me to take half days from work or fully off
Mm-hmm.
days from work to focus on Amrita, because I realized that, well, I didn't want to take external capital to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm doing it fully with my own resources, and my current job is helping to pay
Yeah.
for the startup. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm really great. I'm grateful. I mean, sometimes I really hate it. It just feels like it sucks my life energy,
Mm-hmm.
because I am doing something, during work hours, and I have to maybe struggle with some of the personalities, or just have to go through a particularly boring delivery, and I'm thinking like, I have so many things to do from Rita that I really want to do, and I want to dedicate my life and my time and effort into. But then I pull myself back and I think, no, I am really grateful for this job. It's enabled me to fund the business and keep paying my mortgage and feed my cat and maintain my sort of lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's something I think is valuable for people to hear, right? Like as you're starting something new, it's a maybe slowed your process. Like if you were doing this full time and had probably taken external capital, maybe this would have gone faster. But at the same time, maybe it wouldn't have been as good of a product because you didn't have all these iterations with different manufacturers, finding the right kind of, whether it's the bottle or the cap or the label and all of these things. Like you're being so intentional with how you're making this product and building it and being thoughtful that you might not have been able to do that if you had left your job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a conversation me and you had at one point,
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't want to put that kind of stress on the business
Yeah.
when it's just starting. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to put stress on the business to help me survive
Right.
financially, right, from its inception,
Mm-hmm.
when the business needs everything.
Right.
I won't be
It's a
able to take,
baby.
it's a baby. I won't be able to take anything out from the business for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I realized that. And also I think it I mean, it has taken a lot of patience. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and but also a lot of learning. I'm doing this for
Mm-hmm.
the first time, and I think, yeah, maybe you could call it a delay from the big scheme of things, but
You're right.
it's I have been learning so much in this time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't have a job, I couldn't have been able to absorb some of the delays that we've had, that I
Right.
didn't have any control over. For example, my manufacturer going through internal changes and people leaving and not doing proper handover, or uh, or when they sent me the first samples from the R&D phase, the research and development phase, they got stuck at customs in Belgium and they were sent back, and that was a whole delay, and then they
Yeah.
had to make me some more. And so I couldn't have been able to absorb any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you can, right? Like it may be still frustrating and, oh, I can't wait until I am able to leave and dedicate my time to this permanent, like fully, but
Yeah.
it's allowing you the space, the time, the money, the safety for it to grow as it needs to grow.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm also grateful because while yes, my job is full time, I do have a lot of flexibility. So that is
Mm-hmm.
really important. If my
Yeah.
job wasn't flexible, my time wasn't flexible,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that things could have worked out this well.
Right.
But because I've built such good relationship with the teams and my manager, they allow me a lot of flexibility, and to take hours and then just recoup
Yep.
them later. It doesn't matter when I do the hours, it just matters that what
That
I
work
produce
is
pretty
done.
much.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, if I were to just leave like that, is in this environment it's not so easy to find replacements. And
Yeah.
so I really wanna live in a good place,
Mm-hmm.
and not leave my colleagues and
Yeah.
in a bad state. And
Yeah.
so it just is giving me the opportunity to close that chapter gracefully and in my own terms. So that's
That's beautiful.
that,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
So, what do you have coming up that you're really excited about? Is there anything going on with Amrita that you want to share with the audience?
Yes. So if all goes well, all goes well, Sleep Magic, that's the name of the first supplement, will be on the market, on the US market, to start in fall of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a definitive date yet, but fingers crossed. So, but I am starting to collect interest from people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will, if anybody want to have a look at the Amrita Health page on Instagram, I will post the landing page link in there, and then people can add their email address, and then I can let them know when the product is live.
Oh,
And yeah, so
cool.
hopefully that's coming.
Yes, so we will post both the Instagram and the landing page in the show notes so people can find it easily. And is there anything throughout this whole process? Because I think that to reflect back, it seems like you're very intentional. You notice, you explore, and then you start to make changes and shifts. It's not like and obviously you are a scientist, right? Like you've developed a formulation that you tested on all your friends of this supplement before you even did anything, right? Like you've read all the scientific journals, the articles and everything. Like, is there something here that is like a learning or some wisdom that you would love to share? Whether it was, could be like if you imagine yourself before, or just with the audience in general. Is there something that feels like would be something you would love to offer?
For me, there is no right path, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody is different, and what works
Mm-hmm.
for me might not work for someone else
Right.
who's a different personality than me. I'm like that in a nutshell. I observe and I do a ton of reading, and then I act, and then I
Mm-hmm.
do some more thinking and reading, and then I reiterate. And I am working on my perfectionism too. That's something
Mm-hmm.
I'm actively working on. But what I would say is quitting your job from the start if you have thought through the steps, I think could really work for many people, because some people just need to be focused. But I would say if you want the time to explore,
Yeah.
don't rush into leaving something that is temporarily working.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rush, right?
There.
You
Yeah.
can think things through and follow your gut. I think that's the other thing that's been working really well, because I do a lot of thinking, but then I do listen. I
Mm-hmm.
am learning. That's the other thing. I'm learning to listen to my intuition more, and signs of the
Yeah.
universe.
Well, and it sounds like you've been doing that the whole time, right? Like there was something about wanting to come to London with your father, and then you applied for university and you moved. And then it was like, I would really love to maybe buy, like, for some reason, buying an apartment instead of renting was a thing. And you found this place and you stuck with it, right? Like, it's like seeds get planted and you are giving them time to germinate, to bloom, rather than being like, I must force it to happen right now. And that I feel like is a opposite of how a lot of us have been told we need to interact with the world. It's like you make a decision, you make it happen, rather than like you make a decision and then you allow it to happen in its own time. Does that?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, like you're saying, maybe it has been happening my whole life, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have been conscious of it, or
Yeah,
increasingly conscious of it, probably in the past 5 years.
right.
And
Yeah.
so again, it's a process, like with
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Giuseppina. Is there
Thank
anything that
you.
you wish I had asked you?
No, you've been wonderful. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Excellent. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. And for those of you who don't know, this is Giuseppina's first podcast, and you would never know because she's an excellent guest.
You're too kind.
And we'll again include all of Giuseppina's information in the show notes. Sign up for her notifications about the product. I know I am. I feel like we can all use some help in sleep one way or the other, or just to help our nervous systems shut down properly at the end of the day and all of those things. So I'm very interested in trying sleep magic. So thank you for being here, Giuseppina. Thank you for sharing your story and like this amazing mission that you really have with Amrita that's starting with sleep magic. And I'm very curious to see where you take it, how it goes.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And everybody, thank you for listening, watching, and please go check out Giuseppina's social media. And if you like this show, please share, rate, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. And we will see you next time.